In 2023, the head of the U.S. Air Mobility Command sent a memo to his officers with a startlingly specific warning. He told them to prepare for a Chinese military move on Taiwan by 2027. That year marks a specific waypoint. President Xi Jinping has explicitly directed the People's Liberation Army to be ready for action by the centenary of the military's founding in 2027. Bloomberg estimates that the global economy would lose up to $10 trillion in the first year of such a conflict. That figure represents a larger economic shock than the combined impacts of the 2008 financial crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. This concentration of risk exists because Taiwan controls 92% of the world's manufacturing capacity for the most advanced semiconductors. These chips are the primary engines for everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to the data centers running artificial intelligence. This manufacturing monopoly was long described as Taiwan's silicon shield. Today, it means any military escalation would effectively sever the technological lifeline of the global economy. If the global economic stakes are so incredibly high, why is the timeline for a potential conflict rapidly accelerating? Data from surveys in Taiwan suggest that the prospect for peaceful unification is becoming increasingly remote. This chart tracks national identity in Taiwan since 1992, showing a widening gap. While dual identity was once common, it has steadily declined. Focus on the green line. Strict Taiwanese identity peaked by 2022. For Beijing, this indicates cultural ties are dissolving. Internally, China is also facing a severe demographic decline. Shrinking birth rates mean the country will have a significantly smaller fighting-age population in the coming decades, creating a use-it-or-lose-it pressure on military recruitment. At the same time, the United States is actively fortifying its anti-access area denial perimeter, building up missile defenses and regional bases to block future Chinese military action. When you map these shifting demographics against Taiwan's identity trends and American military preparations, 2027 appears as a specific window where waiting becomes a greater strategic risk for Beijing than attacking. To meet this 2027 goal, the People's Liberation Army has launched a relentless modernization campaign. Since 2020, China has nearly tripled its inventory of precision attack ballistic and cruise missiles. This arsenal is designed to saturate Taiwanese defenses and blind command centers in the opening hours of a war. They have also expanded their air force with the fifth-generation J-20 stealth fighter, aiming to challenge American air superiority within the first island chain. Yet, despite this massive buildup, the geography of the island remains a formidable obstacle. Crossing a wide ocean gap to seize a fortified coastline is one of the most difficult operations in military history. This satellite view shows the 180-kilometer Taiwan Strait, where an invasion fleet would be exposed for hours to anti-ship missiles. Looking at the western coastline, the remarkably shallow waters severely limit where heavy naval vessels can approach the shore to land troops and equipment. To solve their lack of dedicated amphibious ships, China began training with civilian roll-on, roll-off ferries. Using these commercial vessels to carry armor and troops to the beaches is a high-risk amble, but it provides the lift capacity needed for a fast-paced invasion. These unconventional tactics suggest that Beijing is willing to accept higher tactical risks in exchange for the speed required to take the island before their strategic window closes. A cross-strait conflict would not be contained to the Pacific. It immediately involves other regional powers, and India represents a massive strategic wildcard. India shares a 3,488-kilometer volatile border with China. They have a history of clashes in this region, including fatal skirmishes as recently as 2020. If China commits the bulk of its forces to a naval war in the east, it leaves this western border vulnerable. This forces Beijing into a difficult position. If India decides to press its own advantage or coordinate with the United States, China could find itself fighting a multi-front war. A local assault on Taiwan would likely devolve into a continental crisis, forcing every nation in the Indo-Pacific to choose a side. While the military clock ticks toward 2027, political shifts in both Taipei and Washington are already moving the needle. The 2024 election of President Lai Ching-te confirmed that a pro-autonomy government remains in power. For Beijing, this outcome largely ended the hope for a political surrender. Simultaneously, the United States is moving away from its traditional stance of strategic ambiguity. openly increasing arms transfers and staging long-range bombers in the region to prepare for a conflict. The diplomatic formulas that maintained peace since 1979 have reached their limit. The policy of managing tensions through ambiguity is being replaced by direct preparation for war. As the 2027 deadline approaches, the global order is officially entering a period of maximum volatility and economic peril. The outcome now depends on whether the international community can establish enough deterrence to change Xi Jinping's calculus before the 2027 deadline arrives.